Hey y'all, today we are doing a new addition to the channel, and that is Strait Legends. So the whole premise of this is to get some people who have been fishing for a while and get them talking about old schools, get them talking about new schools, and what got them going. Today we have John Kirgan.
Hi guys.
Hey, what's happening?
Oh, another day. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, so he gets to be our guinea pig for this. So hopefully this goes out good, and hopefully everything goes good.
I agree.
So, how'd you get started, John? How'd this fishing bug? Was it bass fishing, regular fishing? What got you going?
Regular fishing as a little kid with my dad. Mostly bluegill, catfish, a little bit of trout. And then I was very fortunate. I grew up in a household with fishing and dirt biking. And then we got into striper sturgeon heavy. Then we got into saltwater heavy with the rock cod. And then we even got into commercial salmon fishing out of Bodega Bay. So I've been very fortunate as a kid. And then bass fishing kicked in high school.
That's cool. Is that now you did all that stuff, the salmon and all that stuff with a boat from shore, a little bit of combination of all?
Everything after the age, from junior high on, was boat. Small boat. We had a 20-footer. My dad, I don't even know how this commercial salmon fishing came about. But boy, it was awesome.
Yeah, I bet.
It was.
Back when they used to have salmon?
Yeah, back when they had salmon. And then I was getting into bass fishing about junior high, but we weren't bass. My dad wasn't a bass fisherman. He broke down, bought us each a bait caster, rod, reel. We went to the lake a couple times, didn't have a clue. We didn't catch nothing. But in the meantime, I'm reading Bassmaster magazine, watching the show. And then in high school, I met a couple guys, and somehow we started talking fishing. And they're like, well, we go to Berryessa, walk in the banks every weekend. And I was invited, and that was that. That was, got the bug, and I've been doing it hard ever since.
Got plagued with it.
Yeah.
And since then, you never had money, huh?
Yeah, and I've been broke ever since.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
So you grew up Fairfield area, or?
Yeah, born in Vallejo, then moved to Fairfield when I was 2. And then now I'm in Vacaville. Yeah.
Nice. You're slowly moving up. You go from Vallejo to Fairfield to Vacaville.
Yep, I'm moving on up.
Moving up in the world. That's pretty cool. Any fond memories of like the early days, the salmon,
Oh man, I there's so many. I just like just being out with my dad. There would be days we would literally, as we would come out of the jetty, past the jetty at Bodega, socked in fog, we'd fish 10 plus hours. You never see the bank one time until you came in. Just them kind of memories it was almost eerie, but really cool.
And is this before GPS too?
Oh yeah. We were radio directional finder off the beacon on the mountain at Bodega Head. And my dad learned how to use it, and that's how we got back in.
That's cool.
And you learn his compass headings. Like when we would come out, he knew if on a certain heading he would get to like the whistle buoy.
Oh, that's cool.
And he learned the little tricks. And the hard way, we got lost.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And he's on the CB going, we need a little help. But he learned, and it was absolutely awesome. And like I said, I was very fortunate as a kid.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very fortunate. Yep.
Yeah, I know we've gone out in the fog, and it legit, like, we had GPS, and we're like, scroll out. Okay, so I think we need to go this way.
It's a trip. When you go out in the soup, and there's boats all around you trolling.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're just trying to see them. All of a sudden you'll hear somebody chugging up on you, and like, okay, that was close.
Yeah, you hope. Yeah, and you don't know how close they are too in that fog.
Oh yeah, I've seen them where their downriggers connect, break. And not often, but every once in a while. It was bad sometimes.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
So then you got into bass fishing.
Yes.
What was your style like right when you first got going? Like what was the popular baits of the time? What was the thing?
Okay, when starting from the start, basically high school, when I hooked up with them, a couple of friends at Barry, what they did was all we did was throw spinner baits. We would throw a spinner bait all day. Single blade, Colorado, chartreuse skirt, period. That was all we threw, and we always caught fish, always. Might not have been many of them, but we always caught fish. And then we slowly migrated into Texas rigging a worm. And as soon as you got your first bite, well, we were hooked on a new technique, and that was the deal, right? So
something new and fresh.
Yeah. And then we started mixing in top water, and it just sort of progressed from there. It was just walking the banks, walking the shore.
So Berryessa was your main.
Yeah, the only place I went.
The only place when you were in high school.
Yeah, never bass fished anywhere else but Berryessa. We'd start at Steel Park Canyon. Mm-hmm. Hop the fence, fish the morning session, drive to the north end. There's a cove, a long skinny cove that has a big pipe in the back end of it, and that would be our afternoon, evening spot. We would literally go all day. But when you're young, you could do that.
Right.
Yeah, especially with the hiking and hopping fences.
Oh yeah, even I was a big kid, man, and it didn't matter. I made it.
Right. That's cool. So, how long before you started branching outside of Berryessa? Like
1988, friend of mine, another fisherman, a real rounded fisherman, a lot of different species. He started telling me about this military bass organization he joined, and it was draw tournaments. And he goes, "You should come fish one." So I said, "Yeah, what the heck?" So it was in the Delta. It was March of '88. Never been to the Delta in my life. Like I say, I never fished anywhere but Berryessa ever. And so I show up to the Delta. Shoot, I don't even know if I had 2 rods, maybe. Drew a guy who didn't know the Delta. The only thing he knew was Fisherman's Cut, and I knew nothing. So we went to Fisherman's Cut. I was throwing a shallow diving crankbait, a little Rebel shallow we are in baby bass. I remember it. And I caught 4 fish, took second place, and was hooked. And that was that. Tournament wise, I was hooked. So
it was a tough weekend.
Yeah, it was. A grinder. I got. If I could have got the limit, I would have won. But that was the only 4 bites I had. I felt pretty fortunate. I was stoked. So, and then a couple months later, I learned a very valuable lesson. Where, well, let's go a little bit further. I bought a boat, and I was out pre-fishing the Delta for this same organization, and I was on them big time. And I knew I was going to win that tournament. And about Tuesday of the week before, it started raining. The water turned to mud, and I blanked. Boy, learned a valuable lesson very early in my tournament fishing career, and it was very humbling. And I was so grateful afterwards that it happened because, man, you talking about, I knew I was going to win. And I just got spanked. It was crazy.
That's that fishing is so humbling, and that is so often.
Oh, brutal. Yeah,
like if I'm pre-fishing and I run across where I'm like, man, I'm sticking 3s and 4s like every other cast. And I'm like, crap, this tournament's going to suck.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be gone.
Yeah, it was, the pre-fishing was just lights out. I couldn't, same little crankbait. And I just was smoking them. Like, this is easy. And boy, a little bit of weather came in and took care of that problem.
Yeah. So now this would be old school Delta, right? Where it's more cranking.
Yeah, all cranking. Everything we did was, now granted, there was the old timers that were Delta rats were flipping, but the weeds weren't really there. They were there, but nothing like now. We developed a style of fishing through the early 2000s of burn and bank with reaction baits, from top water, and then jump into rattle traps, shallow crankbaits to spinner baits to, and we held our own with them with that technique. Now it's a different ballgame. The Delta is 100% different from when I started.
So what year do you think approximately that you started in the Delta?
First time fishing the Delta?
Yeah, right in that time frame. Like,
Oh, well, 88 was literally the first day I ever went to the Delta was March of 88.
so you're talking late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. Even through the 90s, we were still able to throw reaction baits all day. We used to just get in the main channel right out of 3 Mile and just burn bank, and we cashed a lot of checks, and now I go try that pattern and it just isn't there anymore. You might catch a few, you might catch quite a few dinks, but to compete, it's just not there anymore.
Yeah, there's a bank kind of in between. Shoot, I don't know, whatever that reclamation area is. You got 3 Mile and then reclamation area, and then you go down there.
Oh.
There's a bank that my dad and I used to crank all the time.
Yeah.
And every time I go by there, it's either small bass or striper.
Yeah.
Like, it's just interesting how it evolves.
Oh yeah, it's night and day. It's now I you can still catch fish throwing anything out there. Basically, you can still throw anything,
Especially a dink.
Yes. Oh man, yeah, that's easy actually. But now you have to be more weed oriented or edge oriented, And the other thing I've learned just recently, just in the last couple of years, is we got I did, where high tide you're on the bank, low tide you're on the outer edge. Well, I started learning that because it's high tide doesn't mean that you can't catch them out.
Right.
On that outer edge, and so, you never stop learning, right? I mean,
Always. Fishing, that's the way fishing was, though, right? Or is.
Yeah.
Like, you always are going to be learning something
Yeah.
at some point in time. Like,
exactly.
even if you're the best fisherman, you're going to learn something from somebody.
Oh, absolutely. I learned something pretty much every time you go out. You pick up a little something. Right?
Yeah. So back in that time frame, you said you got a boat for the tournament series. What boat did you get? What's your first bass boat that you got to go out there?
So I bought my buddy's boat that introduced me to it.
Okay.
It was a 1976 16-foot Evinrude tri-hull.
A tri-hull.
80
Stable.
85 horse Evinrude, and it was rough. My dad, after I had it for a little while, my dad helped me rebuild, cut the whole floor out, completely rebuilt the whole boat.
Okay. Now,
Just did a lot of work. It was a cool little boat, great first boat.
in that time frame, how much did something like that cost?
Oh gosh, we probably rebuilt that whole boat, new fuel tanks and everything for probably $500.
How much did the boat cost?
$2,000.
$2,000 in the beginning.
Yeah, and then I bought that in '88, and then because now I'm hooked, 1990 I bought my first new bass boat. It was a 1990 Ranger 375 at the 175 Merc, and here's the killer: brand new, out the door, $18,000.
Golly.
Exactly.
If you could just do that now.
Right?
Now it's
I can't-
118
I can't replace my motor for $18,000.
No.
And that was a great boat, man. I ran that boat 14 years. That was a good
Nice.
boat. Good boat.
So you progressed. You left that club at some point
Yeah.
in time.
Yeah.
And where did you go from there?
From there, we fished, I think, like the last 2 years of West Coast bass teams.
Okay.
Boy, that was eye-opener. 160, 180 boat fields. That was, man, you're talking about tough. That was tough. Pretty cool, though. Fun to do. And then new bass was a circuit that was new. And so I ended up, at that time, I had become friends with Randy Llewellyn. He used to be with our club. And so we started fishing together. We jumped into new bass, and we went 13 or 14 years straight.
That's great.
On top of mixing in other divisions with, Bill Talley and with Mike Nicolai. So that was sort of the new bass for 14, 15 years. Is we went pretty hard, and then sort of backed off after that. We were You know, it was getting expensive.
Do you have good success though when you're
You know, we did. We cashed a lot of checks. Didn't win. Won a few. I'm probably most proud of. Out of my 3 partners, I won 4 Angler of the Year titles.
Nice.
Back-to-back years with Tally. So yeah, we had some good years.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
absolutely. And then the weeds grew, and I couldn't catch them no more.
So you were mainly fishing Delta, or were you
No, it
fishing
was
other...
everywhere. It was everywhere we got.
So you got Berryessa,
Shasta, Oroville, Folsom, Clear Lake. That was in Delta. That was the main hub. And so you were all over the place. So it was a really, you know, you had a lot of different stuff, but the lakes are very similar, right?
Yeah.
You know, Shasta, Oroville, pretty similar. Clear Lake is its own monster.
Yeah.
But it's how do you not like going there?
Yeah. Clear Lake can be so awesome and so frustrating at the same time.
I got crazy stuff with Clear Lake. I got 88, basically, my first boat. And because the tournaments were going to Clear Lake, I had never been anywhere besides Barry and on the bank. We go to Clear Lake, and the first tournament I fished, it was early spring, very tough. I drew a guy that really didn't know the lake. We didn't do very well, but nobody did. It was tough. But as the spring progressed, the fishing was wide open. We were going up having, man, you talk about spoiled. In 88 and 89, we would have 80 to 100 fish days every trip. I mean, it was wide open.
And not dinks.
No, up to 5-pounders. No crazy big ones, but just as fun a fishing as you can have. But then I watched that progression into the early 90s where you would go fish an entire weekend and never get a bite.
Oof.
They had a massive die-off. They had a massive shad die-off or bait fish and fish. And I spent many a days without a bite, many a tournaments finishing very well with 1 fish or 2. And it was funny. I remember there was always a couple dudes that always figured out, because there always is a couple guys. What it ended up being, this was so interesting. Remember the Rico when it first came out? Mm-hmm. They were throwing Ricos all day, Lucerne Nice area of Clear Lake, all day. And they would grind 5 between 2 guys. So they were committed all day, but they were dominating because the rest of us were out there just spinning our wheels.
And the average person probably doesn't think, let's go throw a popper all day long.
Yeah, let me go throw this little Rico all day. And but then the lake, you know, luckily it's, a lot of guys I've heard say the lake has a 7-year cycle. But so I seen it, I started at its peak and then just tanked, and then it just climbed right on back out. But so pretty fortunate to catch it at its peak, but you get a little spoiled.
Yeah.
When I know I'm going to go make 2 passes through Corinthian Bay, I'm going to go to Henderson Point and Jensen Point and have a 100-fish day. Yeah. Go home smiling, right?
Right.
And then you go down to where you're grinding all day long and not getting any bit.
I think one of the interesting days too was in the early 90s, probably right before that crash, or maybe when it was coming out, but we were fishing the West Coast Bass team, and I was on a buzzbait bite, me and my partner on a buzzbait bite on Rattlesnake Island. That was very good. And so it was a September tournament, and so we made the big run from, I was in my old boat, so it was slow, from Redbud all the way around to Rattlesnake Island. And we get there and we're throwing our buzz baits and nothing. And we had boats stacked on us, so I had an area, but I couldn't breach out. And we're going along, and I mean, nothing. Now I'm thinking, what is going on here?
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, what happened? My partner bombs a cast into a tree, and he breaks off. So in my mind, I'm going, just retie another buzzbait. Let's keep going, right? Well, I look, and he's tying a spinnerbait. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? To myself. Couple casts later, he's fish on. Like, wow, if we don't snag the tree, we never figure that out. We ended up taking 6th place, got 5th place option money out of like 180 boats. And so by pure luck, the fish were there. They just weren't on the buzzbait. Not sure why, but They like that right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, like in a tournament, how the littlest thing can turn you
Oh yeah.
to something else, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm on this really hot bite. I don't know, it's not quite working, and then you just randomly, like, I've gone into the rod locker before and got the wrong rod out and was like, well, I'll give it a couple of casts,
Yeah.
and it ends up working, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I meant to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and you learn, and I've been fishing so long, and I've fished so many tournaments. Like you say, you learn and you learn, and I learned a lesson in another right before I came to the Reapers originally. I was with the club out of Benicia, great guys, and me and my partner were fishing Henderson Point because that was one of our mainstays, and we're going down and nothing, 2 quick fish, and then we just kept going down the wall, and we had another club guy behind us, one of the veteran guys from the club. And then he came through, and I noticed that he caught a few fish, and he was not moving. And then a little while later, when he came down, he schooled us on what a mistake we made. He says, don't be in such a hurry to move when you catch a fish. You know? And I thought, wow. And this is one of the things you just don't forget. It's like, he goes, you guys should have spun right back around and at least hit it one more time and then continue. And he goes, that's just his opinion. And I said, that makes sense. Because I watched him catch 3 right where we caught those 2.
Right.
And it was a tougher bite. And that was just a wolf pack right there.
They're
and
schooled up.
Yeah, they were schooled up. And that was another, like you say, you're always learning, right? Not that I remember, but I learned.
It's on the drive home. That
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah, oh yeah, we do that all the time.
Oh, yeah. I know what I should have done. I would have caught them all then.
So you joined the Bass Reapers. What year do you think? You joined?
Gosh, 90, early 90s.
Early 90s.
Early 90s, yeah.
So you've been with the club for.
Yeah.
So my dad was over. Was his dad already there? Was
I
Floyd already
don't
there?
think so.
He was there right in that time frame.
Yeah. So
Probably
we've been-
probably close. Your dad, I think, was.
Yeah, I think he was in late '80s.
Yeah, so your dad was there.
Yeah.
And then all the other regular old timers that we had, and the club was small forever. Luckily, the club is, knock on wood, the club is doing fantastic. What a good time right now, I'm really enjoying it. Low key, it's perfect for what I want to do now. My hardcore fishing days are behind me, as far as tournament circuits and all that. But the club is perfect, Absolutely love it, man.
Throw a couple bucks in, you can
Yeah,
win a couple
yeah.
bucks back. It's
Yeah,
all everybody's
absolutely.
laughing.
Yeah, everybody's having a good time, and I'm really enjoying the club. The way it's running right now, we need to keep this.
Capture.
We got to just seal this package, right? Because it is doing very well. Everybody in there is great. Everybody seems to get along. We got a rule base, or however you want to put it, that's working.
It's open.
It's open.
Yeah.
It's not. It's as you know, you can make a couple of changes that make everything go the opposite way because
Yeah.
we've done that in the past.
Yeah.
Well, you've been in the club for 34
Yeah.
years now. Like
Yeah, I've seen.
you've seen
the ebbs and
you've
flows,
seen
baby.
ups and downs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
rights and lefts.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, you've seen both changes on both directions.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
good and the bad.
I've seen the good and the bad, and nothing's done on purpose. Just people want change, and you change and you try it, but
And you learn from it.
you learn from it, and you got to learn and not go back to that, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's where you got to listen to the guys that've been around a while. Like, we're not trying to tell you all what to do, all you new people, but we've been down this road,
Yeah.
and it was not good,
Yeah,
right?
it ended up bad.
Yeah.
And you just gotta
Yeah.
kind of get people to understand the flip side of things. And
Yes.
most of the time, they're like, "I didn't even think of that," and they're like,
Yeah.
"No, I don't want that anymore."
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, "Cool."
exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with the club's going right now is just perfect.
Yeah.
So what?
That's awesome.
So what boat do you have currently? Like, what are you running now?
I am running a 1996 Ranger 487
Okay.
with an 02 Merc Optimax 200,
So it's a 20-foot boat, right?
20 footer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love
20
it.
footer. It is. It's actually a really good boat. I really like the boat. Motors running okay, but it was I bought this motor used.
So this is a second motor for the
Yeah,
boat, right?
yeah. It's an '02 motor. I bought it in '09 with the brand new power head, new lower unit. So it was like a new motor. And I've had, on the most part, it's been fine. I've had, it's an outboard.
Yeah.
I'm having some issues right now. It's
Mercury.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
some things.
it needs some help right now, but it's running fine. Obviously, last weekend we had a small issue, but I thought it was a huge issue. Luckily, you found the problem, and we got it cured. So made Sunday a whole lot easier.
And you got a check on Sunday too, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I shocked myself and got a place and I got a big fish.
I just think it's awesome that you're always like, I did good. I didn't know. It's like, yeah, you did good
Yeah,
again,
did
John.
good.
Yeah,
You did good again.
If you guys don't know, like me and James, we've been in the club when we were 10 to 12 years old, and
Yeah, like we were saying, our dads are in it.
yeah, we've known Big John most of our lives, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
multiple times we've learned, we've gone fishing with them, even as kids, right? Like we have learned a ton from this legend.
Yeah, knowing him as growing up, I knew he was part of that group of the guys that were all like the really good guys, like the Nikolai, the Tally. It was like
Not
those
that-
were the guys. Those were the guys that like when everybody come in, I'd come hang out at their boat just to hear what they were saying, just to kind of hang out and figure out something.
Peeking in the live
You know,
wells.
before the world of YouTube, so that you could actually,
Yeah.
And whenever I got a chance to go fishing with them, I was like, just let's go. Learned a lot on all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite baits, or what's your favorite style currently, right? Like you've been fishing for
Ever.
40, 50 years, 40 years bass fishing, maybe even longer bass fishing.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
What would
If you were to pick, basically, if you were to pick one bait that you are stuck with for the rest of time, what would that bait be?
Well-
Whether you're catching fish or not on it, or whether you're killing, are you going for the numbers, or what are you going for?
Well, I've always been sort of a numbers guy. You guys know how I like to fish. But because of the last couple of years, things have rapidly changed for me. I would, and not so much because of technique, but the versatility of the bait, if that's the right word, Cinco. You can Carolina rig it. You can drop shot it. You can wacky rig it. You can Texas rig it with a weight, no weight. You can fish that thing so many different ways. You could twitch it on the surface like I mean, there's so many ways to fish that
Yeah, you
thing.
can nose hook it and
Yeah.
dance it.
Yeah. But in a perfect world, I'm a power fisherman. I want to check and wind. I want to burn bank. That's the way I like to fish. But unfortunately, that's going the other way. But I still try.
So John recently had his favorite buzzbait
Oh,
blowing
God.
two.
Yeah.
I might have been fishing with them.
Yeah, he might have been.
How'd that story go? Not to recount the bad part, but how'd that story go? Because there was a little bit of a story to that.
So, when was it? Last month?
Yeah.
Last month club tournament, second day I was with Brian, and we were fishing main channel
Main channel.
down by the break, big break, and I was throwing this. I got a favorite buzz bait. It's very old, and I pitched a cast up right on the rocks. I'm bringing it, and this fish rolls up on it. Big fish just rolls up, smashes it. I'm hooked up. I'm fighting this fish, and Brian's grabbing the net. There's no doubt in our mind this is a really nice bass. We get it up to the boat. It's like a 5 pound. Well, I don't know what they're, squawfish,
Pike
pike,
minnow.
whatever they are. Brian nets it, and then when it was in the net, the fish flops, and it breaks my buzzbait in half. So that was into that. So
We thought it was a
Oh.
big one though. When it hit, you could see water splash and head shake from this side to that side. Like it was a huge shake, and we were like,
This is it!
"This is the one!" And bright early in the morning.
Oh, God, that's
we were on cloud nine, and then it got close to the boat, and we were like, "Oh,
That's the wrong color.
oh man,
man, species."
that did suck. For of all lures to hook one of them on, but it wasn't like our trip at Berryessa last year, September, which was amazing. I've had a lot, because I've fished a long time, I've had a lot of amazing in my life fishing. The day we had at Berryessa,
that would be September. Berryessa 2024.
Yeah. Super tough bite. In fact, Dink Central, you can go catch shorties all you want, which was good to see. The lake's doing well. In fact, the first day we blanked. We never got a keeper. Yep. Remember, we didn't get a keeper.
It was a tough bite. There was only 2 or 3 limits.
It was tough. Second day, we made some adjustments. I think I picked up a small keeper on top water.
Yeah.
And then we were on the main body, and Brian checked out an area in deep 20. It was like 28 to 40. Seemed like the range I remember, and it was just polluted with fish and bait. And he picks up a deep diamond crankbait, and like his first cast, he sticks like an 8-pound pike. And then the next cast, he sticks like a 7-pounder, and then in the meantime, I grab a spoon and I stick a 3-pound smallie.
Yeah.
So then he grabs a flutter spoon, and after the day was done, we did grind 4 nice bass there to get our limit, but we caught 10 big pike minnows and 10 very large channel catfish. Yeah. And it was an amazing day. One of my favorite days of ever fishing.
That's awesome.
It was just amazing.
Just when you hook up and it just...
Oh, God, it was incredible.
You're throwing a flutter spoon and you're catching a 15-pound catfish on 10-pound line.
Yeah. It was crazy. I
was just holding on, waiting. But I think 3 of our catfish probably could have gone for 40, 45, 48 pounds. Easy, just with three catfish. It was a great day. We were able to scrape up the bass. There are bass eating in there with all those fish.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
And to turn around after having this amazing day, and we got fortunate enough to get the big fish and won the day and won the weekend. Yeah. So it was just a great day.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you just have that day, right?
When it all comes together.
It came together, man. That was so fun.
Especially after a grinder Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Right. We blanked like, dude, now what are we going to do?
Catching dinks, no keepers.
Yeah. Sort of like the Delta now, Dink City.
Yeah. For sure.
Yep.
So with that, with catching big fish and all that, like what's your PB of all 3 species?
Biggest largemouth, 11 pounds, 4 ounces.
Ooh, that's pretty good. Caught where?
Clear Lake, night fishing,
nice.
10-inch power worm.
Nice.
And that night I caught my biggest limit, 33.4 was my limit.
That's individual limit, right?
Yeah, just mine.
Yep.
My partner, Randy, he had a rough night. He only had 27 pounds.
Yeah, it's tough.
So he had a tough night.
Shucks.
Yeah.
Tough.
It was a good night.
And that's about back to where Clear Lake is now.
Yeah.
Right.
Spot, 5 pounds, 4 ounces. Shasta.
Got me by a pound.
Yeah. 5'4", Lake Shasta, dragging it, gets it around a point, about 20 foot of water. And of course, it was the pre-fish day, the day before the tournament. Of course. Right? Yeah, it was a tough. Smallmouth, honestly, I've never caught a big smallmouth. My biggest is maybe 3.5 pounds, Berryessa. I've just never really got into a good smallmouth. As much as I've fished, I'm sort of surprised I haven't at least had a 4-pounder, but I have not. Maybe 3.5, so, yeah.
I think, oh no, smallmouth, I might have you on that, but the other 2, no, I don't have you on either one of those. No. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
My largemouth, because I had a scale that only went to 10 pounds, so we got it. I caught it at it was 3 in the morning, and so we put it on the scale because it was actually fun fishing. We weren't tournament, and it bottomed my scale out, and I had never had a double-digit fish, and that's my only one. So I'm going, man, I want to see what this weighs. So we put it in the live well, and safe light, first light, because it's summer, it was early. Here comes a boat pulling up, and I just, hey, you got a scale that weighs more than 10 pounds? He's like, why do you need one that weighs more than 10 pounds? I said, I think so. And so we used his scale and was able to get a weight on it. So that was cool.
And the guy's just like, wait, you need one? What?
Yeah, I pulled it. It was long. It was a 27-inch long fish. It was long and lean and mean, man. That was awesome.
That's tank. That's tank. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've got close a few times with some nines, heavy nines, but never. I haven't got a double digit since, so just got that one.
Just the one at
Clear Lake.
So
That's it.
with your all these nines and stuff, do you catch nines at Berryessa?
Yeah,
Here,
Is
Delta.
it spread out, or is it just kind of one?
one here, one there. I've caught my biggest at Berryessa. I've caught and night fishing up in Pewter Creek, 9.5. And then Berryessa, like 2 days before Christmas, I stuck, of all lures, I caught a 991 on one of the rock piles by Goat Island on a jig. And nobody in California throws jigs, so I was like, that was cool. And then the Delta, I've been very fortunate in the Delta. My two biggest Delta fish were in big tournaments. I stuck a 985 on a MS Slammer in Frank's Track.
Nice.
And then I stuck a 9.14 in White Slough on a speed trap. Little tiny crankbait, sometimes gets bit by a big one. You never know.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
On a cast that sucked. It got the wind blew it into the tulies. I'm all bitching and moaning, and that 4 or 5 turns of the handle and it ate it. Like, oh, okay.
I think I'm hung up. Oh, no.
Yeah, it was like, get the net, Bill. But yeah, I've caught some nice fish, but yeah, only one double. They're hard to get.
Yeah, I haven't got one yet.
Unless you commit, I have a friend of mine that went hardcore, swim bait fishing, and he's caught over 100, but he would dedicate 10, 12-hour days throwing nothing but swim baits all day. Or he would actually live bait fish too.
Yeah.
He didn't care. He was just trying to get, and he caught a lot of big ones.
Yeah.
In fact, I took him out in the boat I have now one day and pulled up on Skier's Point. He threw a 8-inch Hud out and it's like 11.5. So, I mean, I witnessed it in my boat.
So you've seen them before.
Yeah. So I seen it happen in my boat. So I was like, you lucky.
You're like, well, it's not the boat. It's not, shoot, it's just me now.
Yeah. I know the problem. It's me. I'm throwing the little worm, and he's throwing 8-inch trait bait. So that's the problem. But it's hard to do that. That's a commitment.
Yeah, that's a
hard
whole nother.
Oh yeah, that's a
whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's
there is a whole following for just that.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah,
For sure.
It's huge. They're not
Whether it's glide baits or soft baits or whatever, where you just grind it out for those big bites.
Yep. A lot of guys do that, and I get it, but I like catching fish. So,
Yeah.
I would prefer just to go out and have fun and try to put some numbers in the boat, and because occasionally you'll get a nice one.
Yeah.
So besides the good day that you guys were talking about from last September, what's another? You got another day that like stands out to you that you just like that was like the best day?
You know what I do. New Bass tournament with Mike Nikolai. The Delta summer bite was super tough. I mean, super tough. And at this time, there was a good quality fish coming out of the track, Frank's Track, out in the middle of the weeds. I mean, you're finding the holes in the weeds, but it was very hard. It was very slow. You had to be pretty fortunate, but they were there. And so Mike and I were discussing, like, what do we do? And at the time, we had an amazing smallmouth bite going up the Sacramento River. So even though it was a 6-hour day, we bit the bullet, ran from Brannan Island up past B&W all the way up through the locks, got up to the smallmouth water, spent about 2 hours, had our limit. I can't remember if it was a 5 or it might have been even a 7 fish limit back then. I can't quite remember, but we got our limit, called a couple, got about a 2-pound average of smallies, ran back to the track, and the wind is just howling, right? So we're nosed into the wind, and we have our areas picked, and I'm pitching a Texas rigged 8-inch dead ringer, watermelon red, my favorite, and I get bit. I finally it's the only bite we had, set the hook, fish on, it balls up in the weeds. So as I'm pulling it in, there's just a ball of weed coming in. So I tell Mike, just net the whole thing, because I don't even know if there's a fish there. He nets the big ball of weeds, pulls in, we start digging through it, and there's an 8-pounder in there. And
Nice.
so we ended up winning that tournament with all smallmouth, one big kicker largemouth, and that was a day I'll never forget.
And I'm sure everyone else is
Yeah.
like, what
Yeah,
is
it was.
going on?
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? I called the guy the night before, called me, and he goes, "So what are you going to do?" And I laid out that game plan. You know, game plans they rarely hold up, right?
Right.
I told him we're going to run up, get a load of get our limit of smallies, run back to the track, try to get a kicker, and it went to the T. One of them rarities, right? It was an amazing day.
That's what, like they always say, you know, when it's meant to be,
Yeah,
it's meant to be.
exactly.
Like it'll all fall into place.
Yeah, it was amazing, because that was literally the only bite we got. We only had maybe 2 hours of fishing time left, and that was the only bite, and it just so happened to be an 8-pounder.
Hey, you only need one if
Yeah,
it's the right
yeah,
one.
it's the right
Yeah.
one. And back then, that's back when the weights weren't out of crazy, right?
Right.
That's back when 14, 16 pounds, you were doing well, right? Or getting checks anyway.
Yeah.
And so it was enough to win the tournament, take big fish, everything. So yeah, that was, I'll remember that one. That's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I 100%
Yeah.
don't doubt that one. So we're going to get a little bit into the weeds. Or actually, let me hit this question right before that. What's your favorite species to target? Largemouth, smallmouth, bass, or is it even a bass? Is it?
Largemouth, no doubt.
Largemouth?
Largemouth, for sure. Bass in general, I fish for everything. You know, I love the fall, winter, split tail fishing for striper. I get a kick out of that. Sturgeon fishing is cool. I like sturgeon fishing, but bass fishing is definitely my favorite thing to do.
It's your passion.
Yeah, I've been for, like I say, I got to fish in the ocean as a kid, rock cod, salmon. I've done a lot, and I like it all. Fishing is fishing, right? I love it all. But bass fishing is my number one go-to thing.
The strategy of it.
The game planning, the strategy, trying to put a pattern together. The hardest part of it is our patterns rarely hold up. So now it's trying to put the puzzle together, right?
Right.
You got to stop it. Sometimes you really, truly got to stop, take a break, take a 5-minute, grab a drink, grab a snack, and just like, what do we need to do? Because what we plan,
What are you missing?
yeah, what are we missing? Because it ain't working no more. Sort of like that, like I said, we got very fortunate when my partner broke his buzzbait off.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't break it off and throw a spinnerbait on, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We bombed that day. Pure luck.
Yeah, you keep pounding it.
And that's
This is what they're supposed to eat.
and to a fault, I have that problem. I get one track minded in a technique I like that in my mind this should be working,
Yeah.
but it's noon and I'm still not changing. So this is definitely one of my.
It's about to turn on.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
about to turn on.
Why isn't this working? In the meantime, I got 20 other rods in the rod locker. Like, dude, come on, try something else. So that is definitely a problem I have.
Yeah, somebody asked me why do you bring all those rods? Because you only throw 3 of them. I said,
Yeah.
well, they make me feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like security.
well, that's how clueless I am. Last weekend in the Delta, it's a 6-hour tournament. I had 13 rods. That's how clueless I was. I had rods everywhere, man. But you could get bit right now throwing almost anything.
Yeah,
in the
anything.
Delta. God, anything. But I love the Delta. It's fun to fish.
So speaking of that, what's your favorite body of water?
Man,
What's the one that gets you when you wake up in the morning? You get excited. Ooh, I get to go here.
Clear Lake.
Clear Lake.
Clear Lake.
That's probably should be everybody's in the
But
in the country.
But you know what? I love Berryessa. I love going to the Delta. I could literally fish those 3 only and be fine. Venturing off to the other lakes is cool. I don't mind going to Oroville, Folsom. Like I said, we used to fish all that Shasta. But I could stay. I could literally stay Berryessa, Clear Lake, and Delta, and I'm good.
You mean not Comanche?
Oh, James.
Oh,
James.
I don't know if you guys know this, but
Why'd you bring that up?
John and I, we both hate Comanche.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe
Brian
not
loves Comanche. James never not in the top 3 in Comanche, but he hates it.
I hate it.
I get my butt kicked on Comanche. Now, back in the day, it was feast or famine. We were either top 5 or bottom 5. So I've had some good tournaments. I've won a big tournament on that lake. But now with the club the past 3 years, going into this year, I haven't even weighed a limit, and that's what that's how bad it's treating me. I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out.
It's frustrating to me because it's a spotted bass lake and they're always moving, and you can't fish it like you fish other lakes. You have to like go in with a completely different mindset of, I'm only at Comanche.
I can't figure it out.
Yeah,
you know, and I don't.
I'd help you, but I don't have much of one to help you.
And the key to this sport to improving yourself is time on the water.
Yeah.
And I'm not out much anymore, so that doesn't help. But when you're running history, sometimes it works, but a lot of times it doesn't. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. Like, I have never been over there. You need to go there because you're having a bad day. You got to try some different stuff. And so, trying to actually, even now at my ripe old age, I'm trying to get better at that, being a little more versatile to different baits, different parts, different stuff. Because, man, I tell you, like I said, I get one track minded and I'm in trouble because I will throw that bait and bomb, or a bait or two. And then, so I'm definitely trying to evolve a little bit, but it helps because now I'm fishing with you guys, other members of the club, and you learn.
Yeah.
You learn. You never quit learning.
Yeah.
Never quit learning. So
the one thing I learned about John is if you're going to ask him what color he is Carolina rigging or drop shotting with, the answer is always Margarita Mutilator.
Yep, it's pretty simple.
In 4-inch or 6-inch, usually 6-inch though, right?
All 6-inch.
Yeah, 6-inch. I don't think he does.
I don't even own one, but I can bite them down. But I don't even do that.
In case you get hungry, you can buy them
I
down.
can just. It's like licorice. So. But the Delta, one of my old school favorite worms, and I'm just getting back into it right now, is I mentioned earlier that watermelon red dead ringer by Zoom Bait. Absolutely great worm anywhere. It ain't. Yeah. It's bare. Any of our lakes, you can throw that worm.
Generic color.
Oh my God, generic color, and that big swim tail. I was hoping that was going to generate some bigger fish for me in the Delta, and it just didn't. I caught plenty of fish, but James is dying over there. So
yeah,
James is struggling. We'll clean that up later. But no, I'm trying to break out some of my old school worms. I think the biggest surprise this past weekend was another worm that's becoming a favorite is Orange Crush. Another weenie type worm, right? Was it Robo worm? Robo worm.
Yeah.
Orange Crush, Dynamite, actually Comanche. Extremely good in the Delta, and this past weekend they would not bite it. And multiple members of the club said the same thing. They could not get that orange-brown combo to work, and they're eating crawdads. I couldn't figure it out.
Do you think that it's the color of the crawdad now?
I could be. The crawdads are pretty red and pretty black. Now, when I picked up my red speed trap, that caught our biggest fish Sunday, our second biggest fish Sunday. I probably got four or five keepers on a just bright red speed trap, and a ton of dinks. So they're definitely on red, But it was funny to see, you could get bit. Margarita Mutilator get bit all day. Any of the watermelon reds, you could get bit pretty much all day. Orange or brown, it was really weird. Even the dinks wouldn't bite it. Like, wow, this is no good.
Yeah, so there was a certain section that I went down and I was throwing a bait and then I realized I'm not catching dinks. It's not that it's the bait. I gotta be changing something I should be catching dinks at this point, at least.
Yeah.
I tried both days going to it for like give it maybe 20, 30 minutes and just like, this ain't gonna work, change it up. You'll run back to Mama here, Margarita Mutilator, which is just a great worm. It works anywhere. I don't care what lake, dirty water, clean water, in between water, that worm will catch him.
Why do you think that purple worm catches him though?
Yeah, what does it imitate?
The only thing I can think is maybe a bait fish or a bluegill. I mean, more of a bluegill, something with that has the purple, blue, red. The Margarita Mutilator 3's got the red flake. The only thing I can think is just, maybe like some type of a bluegill. I don't know. But purple's always been like some of the original man's jelly worms were purple and black. And trust me, I'm old enough, I threw those. 6-inch jelly worms, straight purple, straight back, and they had one called Electric Grape, which was pretty cool.
Sounds like a good one.
And it's very similar to this, right?
Yeah.
But
I think they still make the colors. I don't know if they've changed over the years.
Yeah.
But I know they still have those listings on the names.
Yeah, but like I say, it's just, man, I've been doing it a long time, and I'm still stoked to go. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love
Seen
it.
a lot of, you've probably seen a lot of renditions of like styles of fishing that everyone does. Like, you're going from crankbaiting days to spinnerbaiting days.
But the Delta, when I first started, like say in 88 and into the early 90s, one of the top baits for the Delta was a all white spinnerbait. White skirt, white blades, tandem, willow leaf. That was a mainstay. And then we got into throwing rattle traps, and there's a lot of days we burned rattle traps all day and just pounded them.
Favorite color of rattle trap?
Tennessee shad, then red. Can't go wrong with red, right? But we had a Tennessee shad rattle trap, and it was an actual rattle trap. That was amazing.
And then after rattle trap,
the rattle traps. Well, what happened was the Delta started getting so weedy, we couldn't get in tight and burn our banks. We kept bogging up. And then especially what I call the mid-tide blues, I was lost. I even was telling you about that, I think last month, that is the tide that is the hardest for me. Not quite enough water up tight. It's a little deep to try to pick that outer line to fish it correct, thoroughly.
Yeah. Right.
And, but you know what's funny? And this is another thing that, man, if I would have caught on at the time. So back in 88, when I joined that military bass draw, we were at Clear Lake. And it's all airmen or retired guys or military. I drew a kid. I don't even remember his name. Nice kid, young guy. Excuse me. And we're fishing in front of State Park. And I look, and he's got this rig where his hook is on the line, and he's got a weight on the bottom. And I'm looking at that thing, and I go, what the heck is that? He goes, oh man, I learned this in Japan when I was stationed in Japan. And I'm thinking, dude, well, who is this? Who's this goober?
You got that on backwards, because at that time, everybody is split shot, Carolina rigging.
And next thing you know, he's like, fish on. And then he's like, fish on, and I'm thinking, he's like, man, I catch fish doing this. And I'm looking, it just looked wrong. Right? And it just didn't click. I could have been drop shotting way before everybody.
Scraping.
Oh my God, that was so funny. That's another one of the things I'll never forget. He was drop shotting in 88.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
In California.
Yeah. And
That's
he learned
crazy.
it in Japan because he was stationed in Japan. And he fished enough that he learned that technique in Japan.
That's like Todd Ushijima from Todd's Rods in Benicia tried to talk me into Nico rig fishing years and years before it came out.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to do this. I'm telling you, you need to do this. And I'm like, okay, Todd. And then I don't know, 4 or 5 years later, somebody's like, oh yeah, I've been doing this thing. And I went, crap.
Yeah.
Screwed up.
Yeah.
I should have listened to Todd. I don't know why I didn't listen to Todd.
Yeah, that was the technique that was. There was a guy dominating. Mike was in a club out of San Jose. I don't remember the name of the club. There's one of the guys that just dominated that club, and that's what he was doing. He was doing that Neko rig, and just smoking everybody. You know, it was good finesse technique, and
Yeah.
it was different, right? It's something different.
Subtle,
you know?
dances
Yeah,
different.
yeah, it's totally different. Yeah.
Now it's gone through the phase and it's back out of phase again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There's only a couple people picking it back up again.
Yeah, and it's still very effective.
Yeah.
Very effective. Yeah, good technique.
So, what's your favorite boat snack?
Oh.
What's your
Yeah,
like?
you know what?
I'm gonna make sure I get this from the store before I go fishing.
You know what? Believe it or not, I like what people are scared to put in their boat.
Oh, I knew this was coming.
I like bananas and apples. I don't believe if you got one in your boat and you're scared, give it to me.
I fished with them. Shoot, I forgot what tournament it was. We were not doing very well. It was a Berryessa tournament. We were not doing very well. And I looked back and he's eating a banana. And I almost went, "You're the reason."
Yeah.
I actually did do that when we were fishing that September tournament.
Yeah.
He busted out a banana and we had no keepers. I was like, this guy just jinxed us.
Yep.
So you just gotta be smart about it. If you bring a banana and a packet of mini donuts, that's a 1 and a bunch of zeros.
There you go.
So you can add it up.
Yeah, so I usually like that or a bag of like cashews.
So you don't think banana is bad luck? for the boat?
Absolutely not.
Are there any superstitions that you do believe in? Like, don't get the net out before you catch a fish, or any of those other ones? Cast on or catch a fish on the first cast?
One of the ones I used to run with, not so much anymore, was don't put any water in the live wells until you catch your first fish.
I'm kind of a believer of that one.
Yeah,
I
it's
kinda
like
have that.
it
It's like
seemed like I had so much confidence. I'm like, man, I'm getting water in my wells now because we're gonna get them. And then next thing you know, you're 3 hours into your day and you have nothing. It's like, whoops, shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Besides that, no, not too much. Yeah, not too much. Now my boat's so old, I always got water in my live wells,
Yeah.
so I can't do it no more.
There's no choice but to get
Yeah,
water.
the valves are leaking, so I was like, oh well, I got water.
The only time it's dry is when it's out of the water.
So I was like, well, we better catch one because there's water in there.
Right?
So what's your favorite dinner? Like when you get off water, what are you gonna go eat? What's your like? This is
Man, I got two, both fast food, simple, Panda Express, Taco Bell. Yeah, that's it.
Quick and easy.
Yeah, quick and easy and good.
easy.
Well, typically though, you're fishing a tournament. After the tournament, you want to get some food in you, go home, get the boat plugged in,
Yeah, you're not cooking.
retie, take a nap, and you're starting over again, right? So
Yep.
that would make sense why you'd want to go something quick and
Yeah,
fast.
quick and easy and good.
So you could get as much rest as possible before you go back out there.
And that's the other thing I like about our 6-hour tournaments because you can sneak in, get a hot dog at B&W, get home, put your stuff away, chill, and still go get your Panda Express.
Take a nap.
Yeah, take your nap.
Take a nap.
I'm not scared. I really enjoy those 6-hour days.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older,
Right?
they don't hurt my feelings.
Before I ask the last couple of questions that are a little less fishing related, what is there any other stories or anything else that you feel like you need to add in to any of that stuff?
Oh gosh.
Any like cool stories from the past or honorable mentions to anybody that helped you along the way fishing or mentors or anything like that?
You know, there's so many you can't really come up with them. Like you said, everybody you fish with, you learn. I was fortunate enough, I got in the clubs so early, I was able to fish with our pioneer fathers of the Reapers, right? All of them were a kick, learning something, you know.
Like when it was a drinking club, not a fishing club?
But those guys fished, man, and they were good. Every one, you know, the one that taught me to be slow down and be more patient was Wayne Sablehouse, who I ended up buying his boat from him. You know, I really got a kick out of fishing with all of them, though. And just fishing in general. I've had some great partners in the past, you know, and you mesh. If you can't mesh with your partner, it's hard to tournament fish if you both can't get in a rhythm of fishing. Because back in the day, because we were pegged to the bank chucking and winding, you had to get in a rhythm.
Yeah.
You had to work. You couldn't, you had to work together because you wanted to keep your bait in the strike zone the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, and if you're both casting, you're hitting the same zone. Like you have to pattern.
Yeah, you got to pattern it. Now it's different. You still can run that pattern, and I do, but now it's a little more 45-ish or out because now the weeds, especially on high tide, you can literally get bit, 5 feet out, but that's the front edge of the weed.
Right.
So if I'm up running the bank, well, the fish are 3 feet out from me and I'm missing them. So it's changed a little bit, but yeah, you got to make sure you got a partner that you can fish with anybody, but that's the cool part about the club right now. I haven't been with anybody more as a non-boater or boater that you can't figure it out and have a great time, right?
Yeah, everybody's open.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, great time. That's it. I mean, like I said, too, there's so many, man, I've been around so long and I have fished so much. It's hard to just, you know what I mean?
Just bring up all the
Oh, no,
memories.
it's like, because I have a ton of memories, and they're probably, 90% good or more, right? I mean, I could tell you that probably my biggest heartbreaking tournament, that was besides the one where I was so confident I knew I was going to win, and Mother Nature spanked
The heart
me.
crusher one?
Yeah. Randy and I were in a New Bass TOC in the Delta, 2-day, first place, fully rigged Ranger boat.
Oof.
We go out day one, we get 17 and a half pounds, we're leading. 110 boats out of lads, and we're running to Victoria and Woodward Canal. We're on a spinnerbait pattern. I mean, solid. This is October. We went out, nice bag. We come in Sunday morning, no clue, and they're like, "Wow, you guys are leading it." We're like, "What are you talking about, right?"
Who are you talking to?
Now we're all messed up, right? Oh no. And so we make the big run to Woodward. We start on the first island in Woodward Canal. Randy sticks a 3.5 right off the get, and we're like, "Here we go."
Yeah, what's on?
And we never got another bite on a spinnerbait the rest of the day. We ended up going to -1s in Victoria, grinded a baby limit, barely held on to a check, and man, that was soul crushing, man.
Yeah.
Man, this sport will crush you, man.
Real quick, especially a 2-day tournament.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
it was so painful, man. That was a rough one.
Especially the Delta.
Yeah, and it was and the guys that won it, like say you remember because we're fishing against Bobby Barrett, Chris Ball, all the guys back there back then, and they won. God, the winners were in the break. This is when the break was sort of firing off, and they threw Zara Spooks all day and caught just some solid limit. And
That's good times.
yeah, it's just you got all these memories, mostly good. Some are heartbreaking, but that's part of fishing, right? There ain't no
Right.
guarantee.
No.
You go out there and do the best you can, and what happens, happens,
That's
right?
what's that? That's why they call it fishing, not catching.
Yeah,
Right.
because there ain't no guarantee. Even if you hook up, don't mean you're gonna get them. You
Yeah.
know, as we all know, we've all dumped some good ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So,
All right, so now let's get into the last couple questions.
all right.
What's the best advice you ever got from anybody, whether it's fishing or not?
Oh gosh.
It could be anything from tuck it before you zip it. It could be anything.
You know what? I would say learning this more from my dad and some of the other people around in my life. Man, be humble. Don't be cocky. Treat people good. Unless they don't deserve to be treated good.
Yeah.
And just try to be a good person. Be helpful if you can. Reach out and help. Like Brian fixed my boat last weekend. After a day of fishing. Just if you can, just don't be afraid to reach out and help. If somebody needs help, if you can help. That's about it. Just try to be even keeled. Try not to get too high. Try not to get too low. Not always easy, especially the low.
Well, like I said, you definitely do
Yeah.
a good job of doing
Yeah,
that.
just try to stay even keeled and just go do the best you can.
Definitely can say. I think you can pretty much ask almost anyone. Everyone will agree that you do definitely live by that.
Yeah, try
So,
to.
Yeah. Last question. then we can stop for food and pee break and all that other stuff.
All right.
If you had $1 million, somebody just handed you $1 million, what's the first thing you're purchasing? Could be anything. Doesn't have to be fishing related. It's just anything you want. $1 million right up front. Tax free.
Wow.
The government's not taking half of that money.
What
You
am I
get all of it.
buying? I have 2 items. If I had $1 million, I could just go buy. I'd have a brand new boat, fully decked out, and or a new truck.
We're far enough into this. With or without forward scan?
With.
And a brand new truck.
Absolutely.
All right, so
What would the boat be and what would the truck be?
yeah.
You know what? I've owned 3 Rangers, but I will not go with, I haven't researched, but what I'm hearing where Rangers are being built now, have dropped out of like the top 10. That's just based on other information. I would seriously,
Not researched.
yeah, I would seriously look at the Phoenix, the Skeeters, and maybe the Blazers. But probably Phoenix would be my first look.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of good things about the Phoenix boat. I know there's others, but I haven't heard not one bad thing about a Phoenix.
And what electronics are you going to put on it? Lowrance, Garmin, Humminbird?
As you all know, I'm clueless with electronics. I will come to you guys for help. Everybody says Garmin is the best live scope setup, whatever it's called, and that's what I'm hearing. So probably that route.
And then so mapping wise would be probably Lowrance. Overall, the best overall would be Lowrance. Like if you were to buy one thing to go with.
Right.
But then you get your but Hummingbird's better at side scan and they have some mapping advantages.
Right.
But Lowrance has better waypoint management.
They all have their thing, right?
Right.
So, but that would be fun. I mean, that would be, how cool would that be? Just, there's a ton of money, buy anything you want. I would have a sweet boat. Still wouldn't be able to catch fish, but I'd look good.
Right.
You look pretty good.
Oh, man.
But
What truck would you go with?
Boy, I really like, they're not Dodges no more. I really like Rams. I would go shopping and driving, but I would probably end up in, Toyotas are, they're massive recalling right now. So
everyone has a recall.
seems like I would look at Toyotas and Rams. Definitely those two.
Half-ton era, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I don't need nothing crazy. I'd even probably get a 2-wheel drive because for me at my size, I want something easier to get into. Like his truck compared to your truck.
Right.
I'm
he's got 4-wheel drive.
I know, but yours is easier.
I'm just not I don't have a leveling kit on mine because I'm trying to be
Responsible.
You're courteous to us old fat people.
because I level kitted my last truck and lost a lot of miles per gallon, and
That's true.
I just don't want to pay that bill right now.
Yeah. Yep. Heck yeah, with the gas. Shoot, yeah.
That's pretty much it.
All right.
So, I hope you guys liked all this, sharing stories and all this. I'd really like to make this a regular thing. So, if you have any comments or questions, hit them up down below. And you can always hit me up on Instagram. And until next time, I hope you get them.